Hey there, this is Liz from Keller Williams, and I wanted to reach out to each and every one of my past clients with a really serious issue. And this has happened to me multiple times in the last couple years. It seems to be happening ever so frequently now, and it happened twice last week. I am contacted by someone who wants to list their property. And as you know, most of you live outside of our state, outside of our area. So it's very common for us to get calls or emails from clients that want us to swoop in, work fast, and do something on their behalf, list their property, that type of stuff. And we do it virtually. And we've been doing it virtually long before COVID. But we're having to pause now and figure out, who are we talking to? Are they really the person that they say they are? And this is really concerning because this is what's happening, and it can affect every single one of you, especially if you don't have a mortgage on your property. So last week I was contacted by a William Powers. He claimed to be the owner of an oceanfront lot in the 4x4 area of Corova. I immediately checked the tax records. The property is owned by William and Linda Powers. And however, it came on the heels of another potential scam through Realtor.com. And I've been in this business so long that just something felt weird. And his number was a 44 number, which is the UK, but his tax record said he lived in Canada in that Alberta region. So I pressed him a little bit further, and I gave him a CMA. I told him what the value of his home was, and he immediately said he wanted to go ahead and list the property. And he's a recent buyer, bought in just pre-COVID, so I figured, okay, their plans have changed since COVID. That is pretty common these days, so I didn't think anything of it. I told him I could get it ready, but I would need a copy of his driver's license. Still in the back of my mind, trying to confirm who this gentleman is. He sends me his driver's license, and it's an Alberta region Canadian driver's license, and it does match the address on his tax record. So I said to him, I'm also going to need your wife's. The paperwork has to be in both of your names, and it takes 2 to sell in North Carolina. So about a week goes by, and he emails me and he says, my wife hasn't had a chance to send her ID yet, but she will send it this week. And then I immediately got a copy of a passport from Canada for Linda Powers. None of this is still sitting well with me. I said, let's go ahead and get the paperwork signed. My assistant looked at me and said, are we sure? Have we done everything we can do? And I'm like, I don't know what else to do. All the programs that I have that I can find phone numbers for just weren't working in Canada. So I went to the internet and Googled Bill Powers, William Powers, and I came up with what I thought was a match. And it was a gentleman that worked in the petroleum industry. He had a LinkedIn page. I don't pay for LinkedIn Professional, so I couldn't reach out to him, but he did show on his LinkedIn page a personal website for his wife's store. So I sent her a message via email on the link from the store and didn't hear back from her. 2 nights ago, he emails me again. He's anxious to get this property on the market. And I said to him, we should be sending the paperwork any day. So I went back into his email and I looked at his ID one more time that he sent me. And lo and behold, I looked at it all. I compared it online to what an Alberta, Canada driver's license should look like, and it looked good. The picture looked bad on it. It was poor quality, and we know the DMV doesn't take poor quality. It's crisp. Their passport pictures are really crisp. And so that was discerning to me. And then I also noticed that the issue date on it was March 20th, 2024. And I'm like, it is 23, right? And so this definitely was a huge red flag. So yesterday, while I was traveling to Elizabeth City to show a house, I called the store and left a very urgent message. I said, to who I thought were the real Mr. and Mrs. Powers, I said, if you own property on the Outer Banks, it's imperative you call me, because I am trying to keep fraud from being perpetrated. So this is what happens. People go into the public record, they determine what properties are owned free and clear. And it is easiest if they do this through vacant land, although they can do it by a house as well. And then they will pretend like they're that person and they contact a realtor. We don't normally ask a lot of questions in this market. We would just put the property on the market because they would sign the paperwork. But now we're having to become detectives and private eyes and make sure that we're actually talking to the people that truly own this property. It proved a little bit difficult out of Canada. I'm glad I went that extra mile. When I finished with the real Mr. and Mrs. Powers, she was practically in tears because she realized she could have lost her property, which was 600,000 Canadian dollars. So I just want you to be aware of this. We've all heard of those title lock companies. That's my next thing to research, how they work. I would first maybe reach out to your local attorney. There may be something they can file on the public record that essentially locks your title so this can't happen to you. But my message to you is if you own property free and clear, especially vacant land, but it could be a house that is not in a rental program, it's a second home, there's not a lot of ways for the realtor to determine or the attorney to determine who owns it. Not a lot of accounts to transfer at closing, that type of thing. You really need to listen to this message and seriously take the steps to protect yourself. Had I put this property on the market, I would have no doubt had signatures from who I thought were Mr. and Mrs. Powers. And then we would have marketed it. If due diligence was paid, we would have sent it to him immediately. That check would have been gone. And then let's say a cash buyer came in, they gave us $400,000 for this lot. We closed in 2 weeks. That money is wired to who we thought was the seller. He has signed a deed over to your buyer. Just think about that. That is a mess. Somebody else is out money, you're out property, and somebody has run and has disappeared that pretended to be the seller. It's a serious matter. Like I said, it happened to me twice last week. It's happened to multiple people on the Outer Banks, multiple people in my agency, and I just felt the urgent need to get it out to all of my property owners. I would hate to see this happen to any one of you. So as usual, just trying to bring you the latest and the greatest, although this isn't very great, but if it protects your property, I hope that it's great for you. It's great talking to all of you. Thanks.